I presented the background and the material that we use for working up to the topic that we're going to be discussing this evening, which is how to change our attitudes about self and others, and how to expand our hearts out to everybody. And this was basically in the context of how to build up our motivation. Motivation is very important for any type of spiritual practice that we do. And on an initial level, we might think in order to that we would want to develop ourselves in order to overcome things being not so good now with us, having problems now. Then we would think further in terms of overcoming and preventing things from getting worse in the future. And then we would think further in terms of even if things get a little better in the future, still if we have just a little bit of problems, that won't do. It's important to have a strong determination that we have to get out of all our problems altogether. But then just to think in terms of ourselves is not so realistic, because what about everybody else? We're all interconnected with everyone. As we saw, if we think about everything that we make use of in a day, where all these things come from, when we have a piece of bread in the morning or some noodles in the morning, where did that come from? All the people who grew the wheat, all the people who harvested it, who transported it, where did the trucks come from? Where did the roads come from? Where did the steel that made the trucks? Where did the petrol come from? All these things, when we think about it, we realize that our lives are completely interconnected and interdependent with everybody else, and it's important and necessary for us to work to eliminate everybody's problems, not just our own, and to therefore develop love, which is the wish for others to be happy, compassion, which is the wish for others to be free from their problems, and then going further to have an exceptional resolve that I must do something to be able to help others, not just sit back and wish everybody well, and so take some universal responsibility. And then when we think about it, I don't really have the ability to help everybody the best now. The only way that I really will be able to do so is if I myself can become a Buddha. If I can overcome all my limitations, realize all my potentials, then I'll be in the best position to help others. And so we develop what's called bodhicitta, which is the whole essence of the Guanyin practice, which is to set my heart on achieving enlightenment in order to be able to benefit everybody, and then gradually working to expand my heart out to others more and more, so that I can actually help them and build up the potentials that will allow me to become a clear, evolved Buddha. Now, what we're going to talk about today then are the actual stages that we work through to develop these type of attitudes. And the first type of stage that we have to go through is to eliminate certain obstacles that are going to hinder us when we're trying to expand our heart out to everybody equally. And one of the biggest problems is that we lack equanimity. There are some people that we're very attracted to, other people that we're repelled from, we don't like, we don't want to help them. If we want to be able to expand our heart out to everybody, it's necessary to even out our attitude towards everyone so that we're willing to help everybody equally, and not just the ones that are pretty or that we like or that we can get something in return from. So we want to develop equanimity, and there are two types of equanimity. The first type is the type of equanimity which is developed in common with the Theravadan practitioners, the Hinayana practitioners. These are the modest-minded ones. And this is the type of equanimity with which we stop our attraction and repulsion. In other words, what would be in common with the modest-minded practitioner is to overcome the disturbing attitude that arises in terms of some people we're very attracted to, and other people we feel very repelled from, and yet others we consider complete strangers and we're totally indifferent towards. The second type goes much further, and this is the Mahayana type of equanimity, which would be a very vast-minded type of equanimity, which is the equanimity with which, when we're actually involved in helping others, how do we overcome feeling that some people are close to us and other people are far? So the first one is the kind that we just want to overcome the disturbing attitude of attraction, repulsion, and indifference. And the second type is when we're actually helping others, how do we deal with overcoming favoritism? So the first type, well, all of these are going to be developed through meditation. Meditation is building up a beneficial habit. And last time I described the process of it, which is basically that we have to first listen to an explanation, then think about it so that we understand it and it makes sense to us. And then after we've reviewed it, to alternate trying to see things that way and to feel things that way. So we use the example of seeing everybody as being a human being. They want to be happy, they don't want to be unhappy, including an obnoxious person that I can't stand, or people in my office that I'm having difficulty with, that they, humans, they want to be happy, they don't want to be unhappy, to see that and to feel that towards them. And we use our imagination for that. So we'll have a similar process here when we do these different types of meditations. Now, the way that we start to develop this equanimity, this first type of equanimity, is we imagine three people in our mind's eye. So we imagine somebody that we hate, that we can't stand, that somebody that when we think about would make us very angry, very upset. And we think about another person that we're very, very attached to, very attracted to. The type of person that if they were at the other side of the room, then we'd be completely like a teenager, that we would just be willing to knock over everybody to run over to the other side of the room and be with this person. And the third person would be somebody that we feel totally indifferent to, a stranger. And it's important when we do these to choose actual examples from our own lives. There must be somebody that we find very obnoxious, that really turns us off completely. And if we have nobody in our personal type of life like that, well, we might be able to think of somebody from history or politics or something like that that really upsets us. And in terms of a person that we feel strong attraction to, there must be somebody that we have this, complete lack of equality with, that we just totally go crazy over in terms of always wanting to be with them. And likewise, for somebody that we feel totally indifferent towards, this could be somebody like the person who sells noodles in the street, or the person who delivers the mail in the mornings, or the person who works at the filling station. Just somebody that if we saw them, we would just walk by them. We don't even really consider them as anybody. Now, we start now, so we think of these three people. Now, it's not so easy to keep the three in mind, but so first we think about the one that we feel hatred towards. And the first step is to let the feeling of repulsion arise in our mind. And so we let that come up in our mind, that we look at this person in our mind's eye and we think, wow, what a stinker this person is, and I really don't like this person. And then we let the feeling get stronger, so that we have the wish that, wow, I wish this person would break their neck, go to hell, break a leg, something like that. I wish that their business would fail. All sorts of negative thoughts that sometimes we can think about somebody that we feel is an enemy, or somebody that we can't stand. Then, once this feeling has actually arisen, then we examine the reasons. Why do I feel that way? And why should I have such negative feelings rise towards this person? And it could be, when we examine it, because they hurt me, or they hurt somebody that I love, or they did something that I didn't like, or they do things in a way that's not the way that I like things to do, or they cause things to happen that I didn't want to happen. And so now we check and see, well, is this really a very good reason for feeling so negative towards this person? And we examine this in terms of past lives, present life, and future lives. And in terms of past lives, well, we've all had infinite lives, infinite number of lives, and so this person, undoubtedly, at some time in the past, has been my father, has been my mother, has been my best friend, because we've had infinite lives, so there must have been some time when they were very, very close to me, and they've been very kind to me, and so on, and helped me in all sorts of infinite ways. And so in the past, they have certainly helped me, and in the present life, there's no certainty what will happen, because it's quite possible that the circumstances could change, and all of a sudden this person can become my close friend. It's very easy for the status of people to change. We can see that in terms of the world wars which have gone on. Certain countries which were enemies during the last World War now are the closest friends. So it's quite possible for the situation to change. And in any case, I'm going to have infinite future lives, and this other person is going to have infinite future lives. And for sure, at some time in the future, they're going to be my mother or father. They're going to be in a position in which they can help me, and I'm going to have to put all my hopes on them taking care of me. Let's say when this person is reborn, and I'm reborn as their child, well, I have to rely on them actually taking good care of me, not dropping me on my head, not doing all sorts of nasty things to me. And so in the future, they're also going to be very kind to me. So ultimately, this person is a friend rather than an enemy who has helped me in past lives, who could easily help me in this life, and who in future lives are going to help me, and I'm going to have to rely on them. And if for some little reason of this person hurting me so a little bit in this lifetime, I consider them an enemy and wish them bad, well, that won't do. Like, for instance, if there's a wealthy and powerful person who's helped me in the past and who has the intention of helping me in the future, then if that person gets angry at me one day and slaps me in the face or says something nasty to me, if I hold on to that and I bear a grudge and I fight back, then this person might lose their intention to help me in the future. But in fact, they might decide to help somebody else instead. But if I bear it, if I just don't react back, and I use patience with this person, then this person will become very happy with me because I didn't, just completely overreact when they were in a bad mood, and they might intend to help me even more in the future. So what we have to do is look at things in the long run. There's a Tibetan saying which is, food is in our mouth, but the tongue kicks it out. And we shouldn't be like that. If we're in a position like this where somebody has been helping us, and if we were to just completely destroy the possibility for them continuing to help us in the future, then we're really just hurting ourselves. And so we have to look at this person in the long run, that they've helped me in the past, they've could possibly help me now, and in the future I'm going to have to rely on their help. And so I don't want to jeopardize that. If I were to just hold on to it for some trivial reason, then I really would be most silly. I'd only be damaging myself. And also, if I were to get angry back at them, then really I'm acting no better than a wild animal, than a dog or a scorpion. You know, when we have a dog or a scorpion, and you poke at the dog, then the dog just bites back, and yaps and will snap back. And likewise, if somebody treats me a little bit badly or says something bad to me, if I just immediately react and feel hatred towards them and want to argue back with them, or even if I don't argue, if I hold it inside but still feel that very strong hostility, then really I'm acting no better than a dog growling or snapping. And so we think of all these different thoughts. So the way that we do it is we would visualize or imagine this person that usually we would feel such hostility towards. And as I say, we let that feeling arise of hatred towards them. I really wish something terrible would happen. Then why do I feel that way? I feel that way because maybe they've done something bad towards me in the past. But if I look at it in past lives, they've been my mother and father. They've been kind to me. The present life, they could help me. In future lives, I'm going to have to depend on them when they're my mother and father again. And so in the long run, they're a friend. And if I act badly towards them and feel badly towards them, then I'm only hurting myself and acting no better than a dog. And so like that, when we think like that, that builds up a certain attitude towards this person. And then what we try to do is see them without this hostility, without this repulsion. This is what actually will build it up as a beneficial habit. We practice looking at this person in our mind's eye without hostility, which we've worked ourselves up to in this way, and then to feel that towards them. This is how we develop this type of equanimity. Why don't we try it for a minute or so? I'll lead you through it, okay? So that we get a general idea of what this is. We don't have so much time this evening, but if we get the idea from just this example, then we can do the other practices ourselves. So we imagine somebody that we really can't stand, who really just makes us feel very, very hostile, very angry, whoever that might be from our life. Someone who has been nasty to us or whatever. And we think, first of all, we let the feeling arise of feeling very angry towards them. And we let that feeling get stronger, that I wish something terrible would happen to this person. And we examine, why do I feel that way? Well, because they did something bad to me. They might have hurt me in business. They might have said something cruel to me or somebody in my family. Or they might have been more successful at something that I wanted to be successful in, so I'm angry because I'm jealous. Or they made me lose face in a certain situation by criticizing me. They could have done anything. But then really, is that a legitimate reason to feel so badly towards this person, to feel so negative towards them? Because after all, in past lives, they've undoubtedly been my mother and father, they've been my best friends, they've been extremely kind to me. It has to be, because we've had infinite past lives, so there must have been some time when in the past they've been very kind to me. And in this life, they could easily change and become my best friend. Look how the situation changed between America and Germany and Japan. And in the future, when they're going to be reborn as my mother and father, I'm going to be reborn as their baby, that for sure is going to happen, then they're going to be very kind to me. At least I hope they're going to be kind to me. And so, really, if I look at it, although they might have acted very badly towards me now in a short period of time, in the long run, they've been very kind to me, and I'm going to have to depend on them being kind to me in the future. And if I'm very hostile now, I'm just going to really jeopardize and screw myself up in terms of making this opportunity for them to help me in the future be lost, like the person who fights back with their patron, and then they lose the patronage. And really, I'm no better than a dog, just barking and growling when somebody pokes them. And so really there's no reason to feel this hostility and resentment and repulsion towards this person. And so let's try to see this person free of this repulsion, just without that repulsion. Just see them as a human being. So we can see this is a very useful type of technique. It takes a while for us to become more and more accustomed to it. But this is the technique that we'll be able to use, that will be effective for dealing with incidents in our business, in our work, when somebody insults us or causes us to lose face, or somebody does something nasty towards us, or succeeds when we don't, and then we feel angry towards them. These sort of things are upsetting. And this is a very helpful technique for being able to calm down, equalize our attitude, and practice in this way, seeing them and feeling towards them no hostility. Because if we can do that, and we've built this up as a beneficial habit, which is what meditation means, then when we actually meet the person, we won't have that strong hostility or anger arising towards them inside us. That's very helpful. Then the second person that we were considering is the one that we felt a great deal of attraction to. And so what we do is that we think of this person. This could be a dear friend, it could be a relative, it could be a lover of ours, it could be anyone. And we let our mind go towards this person, and we feel the very strong attachment and attraction. And then what we do is we let that feeling get stronger and stronger, and so we get completely infatuated like a teenager, and we would want strongly to just run across the room and be completely inconsiderate of everybody else, and just be with them all the time. And we don't care what anybody else thinks, or how ridiculous a fool we make of ourselves in terms of running with this person, but we just have this strong attachment. And then we examine, why do I feel such attraction to this person? And the reason for this could be that, this person might have done something that was really nice. They might have helped me. They might have made me feel good by smiling at me, by being pretty, being handsome, or these sort of things. They might have helped my family. There could be all sorts of reasons why we feel such a strong attraction to them. And then we examine, is this really a sufficient and proper reason for us to feel such a strong desire for them, such a strong attraction? And again, we examine past, present, and future lives. And so we think in the past, well, this person has undoubtedly hurt me. They could have hurt me in a terrible type of way, for sure, because we've had infinite different types of lives. They could have drunk my blood. They could have done all sorts of horrible things to me. And in the present life, it's very easy that things are going to change, and they're going to hurt me very much. In fact, when we think about it, the people that we're the most in love with very often are the ones that hurt us the most. If we're completely in love with somebody, and then they say something cruel to us, then all of a sudden we hate them, and we feel that they're my worst enemy. We get really quite violent about it, and they could make us really be the most upset. So in this life as well, it's quite possible that their situation could change, and they're going to cause me a great deal of harm. They could cause me to make a complete fool out of myself, so that then all my friends, all my business people think that I'm absolutely ridiculous, that I was so infatuated with this young love or whatever. There's many ways that they could hurt us in this life, and in future lives as well. They could very easily be reborn in a situation in which they'll hurt me. In fact, for sure they're going to hurt me. And so if for some trivial reason I get infatuated and attached with them, then I'm no better than, these examples. I don't know if you have in Chinese mythology, but there were certain men, sailors, who went to an island, and they landed there, and there were these beautiful women who started to sing to them and dance, and they attracted them and lured them. And when these men got off their ship and they came to the land, and they destroyed their ship so that they couldn't leave, and the men became so attached to them and attracted to them that they came completely under their spell. And when they were completely under their spell, then one night these women came, and they tied these men up when they were sleeping, and they changed back into their form, which was as a terrible type of cannibal spirit, and they ate the men. I think you have something like that with fox spirits or these sort of things in the Chinese mythology. So we have the same type of thing. If I'm so infatuated with somebody else, then I'm no better than a person being tricked by the fox spirit, who then is going to gobble them up. Or we can think in terms of an example of a fish, that if I'm just attracted to someone, then I'm no better than a fish being attracted to a worm on a hook. The fish thinks that it's so beautiful and so attractive, and yet they just get completely caught. In America, I saw a very lovely, actually it was a rather horrible cartoon, which was of a beach. And on the beach there was a sandwich, and the sandwich had a hook in it and a rope going out into the ocean, into the water. And the person came by and they saw the sandwich, and it looked so wonderful and attractive that they picked up the sandwich and they got hooked. And then a big fish in the ocean pulled them into the ocean to eat them up. So like that, if it makes you think twice, doesn't it, in terms of fishing? But if you look at it from the fish's point of view. But in any case, these examples are to help us think that if I'm so attracted to this person, then really I'm just getting fooled, like somebody being fooled by the fox spirit, or like fish being caught on a hook with a worm. And so going through this sequence of imagining this person who we're so attracted to, let that feeling get very strong, then examine why we feel that way, because they helped me for this reason or that reason, or they were pretty, or they were kind to me. And then I think, well, in past lives they've hurt me, present life they could very easily hurt me terribly much by just disappointing me, then they hurt me, and they could become my enemy. We think of so many divorces. People, when they became divorced, I mean, it started off with a marriage. Started off with them having very warm and loving feelings towards each other. So it's easy for things to change, and in the future they could hurt me very much as well. And so if I get just completely fooled and under their spell, then I'm no better than someone being fooled by the fox spirit, or a fish being caught by a worm on a hook. And so then, as a result of thinking in that way, then we try to see this person without that attachment, without that attraction. We just try to see them in a more neutral and clear type of way, and to feel that way towards them. And so again, we build that up as a beneficial habit by alternating seeing and feeling. I think you get the idea. Then the next level, the next step, is to look at this third person that we would feel completely indifferent towards. The person who sells noodles in the street, or the person who works in the service station, or whoever, somebody that we really have no feelings towards. And we imagine them, and then we let the feeling of indifference rise, and, who's this person? They're just nobody. And then we would think in terms of, let that get even stronger, which is that I'm just going to walk right past this person. Who cares about this one? I would think in terms of, let that get even stronger, which is that I'm just going to walk right past this person. Who cares about this one? And then we examine the reasons. Why do I feel so indifferent towards this person, so closed towards this person? and it's because they've neither helped me nor harmed me. They've done nothing for me. And then we think in terms of past lives, and past lives, undoubtedly, they have been, again, my mother and father. They could have helped me a great deal. In this life, well, every friend that I ever have, that I've ever been able to have, started out as a stranger. That's the way that things go. When you meet somebody for the first time, they're a stranger, and yet it was possible that I made many, many friends in this life, and so this person as well, although they might be a stranger now, there's no reason why they couldn't become a close friend. And in future lives as well, there's no reason why this person couldn't be my closest friend, my mother, my father, and so on. And so if I just ignore them and feel nothing towards them, then it's like somebody who has a lottery ticket. Do you have lotteries here? Yeah? It's like somebody who has a lottery ticket and they don't even bother to look at the number to see whether they've won or not. It's this type of situation. We could have the winning lottery ticket, but if we just completely ignore it, then we never know what type of treasure we might have. And the same thing is true of any stranger that we meet. This person could be a real treasure, a real gem. They could turn out to be the most wonderful friend to us. But if our heart is completely closed to them and we ignore them, then nothing is ever going to happen. Nothing's going to develop. So we try in this way also to look then at this person that we normally would have ignored so much, and to try to see them free of this indifference. In other words, to be open towards them. See, this is the goal that we're trying to achieve, is an openness here towards everybody, without feeling attracted to some, repelled from others, or totally indifferent from the third. So these are the type of attitudes that we try to develop here with the first type of equanimity. We think about things like if somebody gave me $100,000 yesterday and punched me in the face today, and there was a second person who punched me in the face yesterday and gave me $100,000 today, which one would I consider my friend and which one would I consider my enemy? Right? Well, really, they're the same, aren't they? It's just that one did the nice thing to me yesterday and the good thing and the bad thing today, and the other did the bad thing yesterday and the good thing today. So it's like that with all people, that sometimes they could be nasty towards us, but in the past they could have been very nice, but also people who are nice to us now could have been very nasty toward us in the past. So in this way we try to develop an equal attitude towards everybody, and then we finish this type of practice by then looking at all three people together and trying to have just an open attitude towards the three of them, and not to feel attracted to one, repelled from another, or hostile towards that one, or indifferent to the third. You get the general idea? Okay, this is a very, very helpful type of practice, and what it does is it evens out base. If we want to recognize, if we want to go further, let's say if we want to paint the wall, then it's important to make the wall smooth. Or if we want to lay a road, we want to first make the road smooth. And so this is a way of smoothing out our minds in terms of our attitudes towards others. Then on the basis of that, we can think in terms of recognizing everybody as, because then when we're equally open to everybody, we can recognize everybody as having been our mother in past lives, because just as I've had a mother in this life, or a father in this life, I've had a mother and father in past lives, in all my past lives, and so undoubtedly everybody at some time has been my mother. Then to remember the kindness that my parents have shown me, and in terms of raising me, taking care of me, carrying me in the womb, these sort of things, and then wishing to repay that kindness, and then thinking in terms of wishing them to be happy, not to have problems, and taking the responsibility to do something about it, and then expanding our heart out to reaching the fullest goal. It's overcoming all our limitations, realizing all our potentials so that we can help them the best. Now that's the usual sequence, not the usual, but that's one sequence for expanding our heart out to all others. And I understand that you've had some explanations of this before, but the main thing that I want to focus on is the second technique, which is the technique of changing our attitudes about self and others. Now, for this, now we've had this first type of equanimity, the equanimity with which we've stopped feeling attraction, repulsion, and indifference. And now what we want to develop is the equanimity with which we have an equal feeling towards everybody when we're actually involved in helping them. And so when we're actually involved in helping others, how to feel equal towards everybody, that some aren't close to me and others aren't far, and that I don't want to help them. And so there are 9 points that we think about for getting an equal attitude towards everybody, equalizing our attitudes. And these are divided. There are 6 with respect to the relative level and 3 with respect to the deepest level. And in terms of that relative level, there are 3 in relation to ourselves and 3 in relation to others. Anyway, that's just the division. The first point that we would think about is that, and what we want to do, well, okay, let's do it this way. First point that we would think about is that if everybody's been my parent in past lives, then it's not really fair or proper to consider some as being close to me and some as being far from me. Like, for instance, if I haven't seen my mother or my father in 10 years, or I haven't seen them in 10 minutes, does that make them any more or less my mother or father? Does it? No, if I haven't seen my mother in 10 minutes, or I haven't seen her in 10 years, still she's my mother, isn't she? And so I still would have the same type of feeling towards her, the same type of respect, and so on. So the same thing is true whether I haven't seen my mother in 10 years, or I haven't seen her in 10 lifetimes. Still, she would still be equally the same. She would be my mother. So this is true now of everybody. Everybody at some point has been my mother and father, because we've all had infinite lifetimes. And so it's just a matter of time when they've been my mother or father, but they've all equally been my mother and father, and so there's no difference. And so this is the first type of point that we think of in terms of trying to help others with an equal attitude. So, for instance, we could imagine a large group of people. We can think of the group of people here, or we can think of the group of people that we work with, or if we're at school, we can think of the people that we go to school with, or the people who live in my neighborhood, any group of people. And we would try to think of this point that all of them have been my mother and my father, and so it's just a matter of how many lifetimes it's been since they were my mother and father, and really there's no difference whether they've been my mother 1 lifetime ago, or this lifetime, or 100 lifetimes ago, as with the example of not seeing my mother in either 10 minutes or 10 years. And then try to see, these people and feel towards them an equal attitude of care. Like I would care for my mother and my father in this lifetime, likewise I would care for all of them equally, to see them all equal in this way. It's just a matter of time when they've actually been my mother or father. To see that and to feel that. You get the idea? This is how we would build it up in meditation. We build it up as a beneficial habit. We would practice thinking about this point, that's the review, and then try to see the people in a crowd with this equal type of feeling, that they all equally have been my mother in this way. It's just a matter of time when they've been there. Then the second point, we would think, well, it might be possible that just as they've helped me, so too a lot of these people might have been very nasty towards me and harmed me very much. But then when we think about it, compared to the amount of help that they've given me, the amount of harm that they show me is really very small and trivial. And this we can demonstrate to ourselves if we think about this example that I mentioned before about everything that we make use of in a day. Because all the food that I eat, the clothing that I wear, all the objects that I have in my house, where do they all come from? They came from all the hard work of other people. And so other people have been very kind to me. And when we think like that, we take each person. Now, in every lifetime, undoubtedly, most of the time, they've been involved in doing certain type of things, certain type of work, whether they were farmers, whether they were businessmen, which has directly or indirectly given me various goods, either food or clothing or whatever, which has allowed me to live. And so really, it's just a very small amount of the time that they've harmed me, but most of the time they've been involved in types of professions and work which has helped me. And so in this way, again, we would develop an equal attitude towards everybody, that although some might be nasty to me now or hurt me now, really whatever harm they might do is trivial compared to the amount of help that they've given me over all these past lifetimes. And so if we equalize it out, then we see that everybody has been equally kind to me and has shown me a great deal of help. It's only sometimes, a very small amount of time, that they've been nasty. And so again, we try to see them this way and try to feel this way towards them. That's the second point. So it's not fair, it's not proper for us to see some as being far from us and others as being close. The third point is to think about how definitely I'm going to die and they're going to die, and the time of death is completely uncertain. And if I was going to be executed tomorrow, then what point would there be for me to be nasty with this person today? What difference would it make if I'm going to be killed tomorrow to spend all my time thinking about all sorts of plots and charms that I can put on them and so on? Really, what a waste of my last day to be so involved in these negative thoughts. There's an example of one official who got angry with somebody, and they planned the whole day how they would catch and punish the person, and they would do all sorts of nasty things to them, and in the morning they dropped dead before they could do anything about it. And so they had spent that entire last day, their last hours, just plotting some sort of terrible thing, which, what's the point of that? What a waste of the last day. The same thing is true. So, we think in terms of if I myself were in a prison waiting to be hung in the morning, what point is there in me being nasty to someone, feeling close to some, far from others? I'm going to, do all sorts of nasty things like that. That's pointless. And also we would think if the other person that I would consider far from me and I don't want to help them, if it was their last day, and they were going to be executed in the morning, again, what point would it be to be nasty towards them and to be cruel towards them because they're going to die? And, there's no point to it at all. So the same thing, we think in terms of everybody. I could die at any moment, everybody else could die at any moment, and so what's the point of being nasty and not being willing to help others? Shantideva, the great Indian master, was talking about this type of point when he referred to soldiers, and he was saying soldiers really are just going out and killing dead men, because killing corpses, because the people that they kill are going to die anyway, and so what's the point of the soldiers making them die, when death is going to come to them in any case. So these are the points that we would think about here in relation to myself, in terms of developing an equal attitude towards everybody when I'm involved in helping them. First, I would think about, they've all been equally kind to me as my parents. It's just a matter of time, either one lifetime, 10 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes when they've been my mother, but they all equally have been my mother and kind. And also we would see that the amount of help that they've given me, the amount of help that they've given me far outweighs any harm that they might have done, because they've been involved so many lifetimes in helping me survive as farmers, businessmen, and so on, and or cows or sheep giving me wool, these sort of things. And also I would see that all of them are going to die. Everybody's going to die. We don't know when. I'm going to die also. I don't know when. So what's the point of being nasty and not willing to help some? So these are the first 3 points. The second 3 points are in relation to others. And the first of these is to think about, as for myself, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to have problems, even in my dreams. And no matter how much happiness I have, it's never enough. And the same thing is true of everybody else, from a tiny insect up. Everybody wants to be happy. Nobody wants to be unhappy. If there's an insect crawling on the ground and we stick our finger in front of it, even from the tiniest bug, if we stick our finger in front of the insect tries to flee, tries to run around it. Why does it do that? It's because it wants to be happy. It doesn't want to be unhappy. And this is true of absolutely everybody. Human beings, certainly, it's the case as well. And so like this, we think that in terms of looking at everybody from their side, everybody has that same wish. And so everybody is equal in the sense that everybody wants to be happy and nobody wants to be unhappy. That's the first point. The second point is we think in terms of an example. Let's say if there were 10 poor, starving people who came to our door, begging for food, it would be unfair to feed only some. Or if there were 10 babies who were all crying for milk in the nursery, it would be unfair to just give milk to some of them, the ones that were pretty, or the ones that were nice, or these sort of things, because all of them have the equal wish and the equal right to be happy, to be fed. And so, like that, we would think in terms of everybody. You know, like this example of 10 hungry people at the table that would come to our door. They're all equal in the sense that all of them, if they're being hungry, all of them have the equal right to be happy, to have food, and it's completely unfair for me to just give food to those that I consider my favorites, those that I like. So again, we try to see everybody in this type of way and to feel this way towards them. And the third point is in terms of thinking about an example, like for instance, if we were a doctor and there were 10 sick people who all needed medical treatment, again, it would be very unfair for us to just treat some of them, the ones that we thought were pretty or the ones that we could make money off of or these sort of things, because everybody has the equal right, all 10 of them have the same right to be free from their problems. And that's true of absolutely everybody. So that's the third point here. So we see that, first of all, everybody has the equal wish to be happy and not to be unhappy. Everybody's the same in that sense. Everybody has the equal right to be happy, for things to go well, like the example of the 10 people who have the equal right, 10 hungry people who have the equal right to be fed, or the 10 hungry babies who have the equal right to be given milk. And they all have the equal right to be free of their problems, like the 10 sick people. That they all have that equal right to be treated, to be cured. And so this as well is going to help us very much to develop an equal attitude towards everybody when we're involved in helping them. If there's a whole crowd of people and we're there to try to feed them, or we're there to try to help them, to answer their questions and so on, well, everybody has the equal right to have their questions taken care of, to be dealt with by me, and by thinking in this way, it helps us to develop the patience, the tolerance, the openness to regard everybody the same. It's not that just the wealthy people are the ones that I have to deal with, and the less influential people, well, I can forget about them. I don't really have the energy or the time to deal with them, because everybody's equal. Everybody has an equal right. Now, the last 3 points are dealing with the deepest level. And on the deepest level, we would think that, well, somebody who helps us or is nice, then in our confusion we label them as my best friend, and if they harm me, then I would label them as an enemy, and if they do nothing to me, then I label them as an indifferent stranger. But if people were established the way that we label them, then a Buddha would have to see things like that as well. But as one famous Indian master, Dharmakirti, said in describing the Buddha, he said that if there was one person who was massaging the Buddha with perfumed oil on one side, and another person on the other side chopping at his body with an axe, then a Buddha would regard both of them equally. He wouldn't have any type of difference in his concern and his love towards both. There's a story of Buddha's cousin, Devadatta. Devadatta was a cousin of the Buddha who was always jealous towards him, always trying to harm him. And once there was a famine, not a famine, an epidemic, very bad diseases in India. And the Buddha, in order to teach others to take medicine, he pretended to be sick and had a doctor come and treat him, and he took medicine. And because the Buddha was such a large person and had such a strong body, the doctor gave him a very large dose of medicine. Then his cousin Devadatta, who was always very jealous, went to the doctor and he said, "You have to give me, the same type of medicine, the same type of dose." And the doctor said, "Well, I can't give you that. It'll kill you. It's such a strong dose. Your body doesn't compare with the body of the Buddha." And Devadatta said, "No, what do you mean? I'm just as good, if not better, than my cousin." And he was very, very insistent that the doctor give him this strong dose of medicine. And so the doctor had to finally agree, but of course he didn't give him as much as he gave the Buddha because it would have killed him, but he gave him a larger dose than normal. And Devadatta took it, and for sure, as the doctor predicted, he got very, very sick. In fact, he was out unconscious. He nearly died. And the Buddha, his cousin, came over to see him, and the Buddha put his hand on his head. The Buddha had a son, by the way, and the Buddha said that I have equal concern and equal love for my son and for you, my cousin Devadatta, who's always trying to harm me and who always has such negative attitudes towards me. And if this statement is true, that I have an equal concern for both of you, then by the power of that statement, may you be healed. And sure enough, Devadatta was healed and he recovered. And when Devadatta recovered and he looked up and saw the Buddha with his hand on his head, the first thing that he said to the Buddha was, "Take your dirty hand off my head." So like that, he was always very nasty towards the Buddha. But the point of this, then, is that if it were true that people existed, in these definite categories with a big black line around them, that this one is a friend, this one is an enemy, this one's nice, this one is terrible, this one is, a nothing, then Buddha would have sort of seen people like that as well, and Buddhas never see others in these type of categories. The second point here is that if people existed in the category of friend and enemy as we grasp at them, then they would have to be permanently like that, and they never could change. But things do change in this world. We might have a watch, for instance, that we think always has the right time, but if we sometimes watch the television or listen to the radio and we hear that, now it's the hour, and our watch doesn't correspond with that, then in fact we're going to have to admit that this watch that we were so attached to thinking that it was always the same and it was always on time has actually changed. And so like that, people do change, positions do change. There's many stories of someone who was the enemy of somebody was reborn as their child, or their daughter, their mother is reborn as their daughter, or their wife is reborn as their dog. There's all sorts of different possibilities that can happen. People can change. The positions can change very much. And so, like this, we can see that if people were always a friend and always an enemy, they could never change, and that also is ridiculous. So we can't think of them as being definitely in these categories. The third point, the last point here, is that the labels self and others, or near and far, are really just relative labels. It's like if we're on this mountain and we look at the other mountain over there, the mountain that we're on becomes the near mountain and the other one over there becomes the far mountain. But if we go over to the other side, then that now becomes the near mountain, and the mountain that we were on before becomes the far side. So like that, positions of near and far in terms of people or self and others, these are things which are dependent, they're relative. There are different ways of looking at the same thing. So like, for instance, there was a story of somebody this was a village of foolish people, and the headman of this village went on a trip, and he forgot his slippers. And so he wrote back to his wife, and he said to his wife, "Dear wife, please send me your slippers. I write, send me your slippers, because if I wrote, send me my slippers, you would read, send me my slippers, and you'd send me your slippers. So I write very simply, send me your slippers, so you'll read, send me your slippers, and you'll send me my slippers." And, it's like that, you answer the phone, and, somebody, you ask, who is it? And the other person says, it's me. Right? Well, how can it be me? I'm me. You can't be me. Everybody is me to themselves, and the other person is you. And so it's a very relative point of view. The same thing here, like the close mountain and the far mountain. Everything depends on the perspective. And so we would think in terms of, somebody being close or far, in terms of our wanting to help them, that if they were really like that, they would have to be like that to everybody. It couldn't be just a relative thing. And so if somebody was really a terrible person, a bastard, they'd have to be like that to everybody. Everybody would have to consider them that way. Their parents, their wife, their children, their dog, their cat, everybody would have to consider them like that. But that's not the case. People can be, one way to one person, another way to another person, and like that, we see that nobody exists from their own side in this category of close or far. So these are the 3 points here that we would think about from the deepest point of view in order to equalize our attitude towards others. That people don't exist as close and far because if they did, Buddha on the deepest level, because if they did, Buddhists would have to see them that way as well, and they don't. And they'd have to permanently be that way, which is ridiculous because people can change.